Today we'll be learning about how to listen to your inner voice. First things first, we need to describe the difference between summarizing and thinking about it. When we're summarizing a text, we're usually taking key ideas or listing events that happened in the text. However, when we're thinking about it, if we're reading a text about someone who loves music, this could make me think about how I have a love for sports. Instead of just summarizing or just thinking about it, let's do both. Raise your hand if you've ever listened, read, or viewed something and thought, I don't understand that, or I never knew that. If you have, then this is you having a conversation with yourself. Together we are going to practice distinguishing between having a conversation with our inner self and then what the text is actually about. So today I'm going to read aloud the passage Coco and then share my inner conversation that I had after I read the first 2 paragraphs. Coco. Did you know that humans aren't the only species that use language? Bees communicate by dancing, whales talk to each other by singing, and some apes talk to humans by using American Sign Language. Meet Coco, a female gorilla born at the San Francisco Zoo on July 14, 1971. Coco learned sign language from her trainer, Dr. Penny Patterson. Patterson began teaching sign language to Coco in 1972, when Coco was 1 year old. Coco must have been a good student because 2 years later she moved onto the Stanford University campus with Dr. Patterson. Coco continued to learn on the campus until 1976. That's when she began living full-time with Patterson's group, the Gorilla Foundation. Patterson and Coco's relationship has blossomed ever since. After reading the first 2 paragraphs of Coco, this is what I thought within my inner voice. My grandfather was a beekeeper and always told me that bees communicated by dancing. Where is Coco living now? And I wonder what made Dr. Patterson want to teach sign language to gorillas. We are going to continue reading the passage, and while I read the passage, I want you to write down on your sticky notes what the text made you think about and what the text is actually about. Dr. Patterson says that Coco has mastered sign language. She says that Coco knows over 1,000 words and that Coco makes up new words. For example, Coco didn't know the sign for ring, so she signed the words finger and bracelet. Dr. Patterson thinks that this shows meaningful and constructive use of language. Not everyone agrees with Dr. Patterson. Some argue that apes like Coco do not understand the meaning of what they are doing. Skeptics say that these apes are just performing complex tricks. For example, if Coco points to an apple and signs red or apple, Dr. Patterson will give her an apple. They argue that Coco does not really know what the sign apple means. She only knows that if she makes the right motion, one which Dr. Patterson has shown her, then she gets an apple. The debate is unresolved, but one thing is for certain, Coco is an extraordinary ape. Sign language isn't the only unusual thing about Coco. She's also been a pet owner. In 1983, at the age of 12, researchers said that Coco asked for a cat for Christmas. They gave Coco a stuffed cat. Coco was not happy. She did not play with it, and she continued to sign sad. So for her birthday in 1984, they let her pick a cat out of an abandoned litter. Coco picked a gray cat and named him All Ball. Dr. Patterson said that Coco loved and nurtured All Ball as though he were a baby gorilla. Sadly, All Ball got out of Coco's cage and was hit by a car. Patterson reported that Coco signed bad, sad, bad, and frown, cry, frown, sad when she broke the news to her. It seems like Patterson and Coco have a good relationship, but not everyone agrees with it. Some critics believe that Patterson is humanizing the ape. They believe that apes should be left in the most natural state possible. Even Dr. Patterson struggles with these feelings. When asked if her findings could be duplicated by another group of scientists, she said, "We don't think that it would be ethical to do it again." She went on to argue that animals should not be kept in such unnatural circumstances. Nonetheless, Coco lives in her foundation today. As for the future, Dr. Patterson and the Gorilla Foundation would love to get Coco to an ape preserve in Maui, but they are having trouble securing the land. So unless you have a few $1,000,000 to spare, Coco's going to be spending her time in Woodland, California with Dr. Patterson. Coco probably doesn't mind that. If she moved to Hawaii, she'd have to give up her Facebook page and Twitter feed, and she's got like 50,000 likes. Some may deny that she knows sign language, but nobody says that she doesn't know her social networking. Now that we have read the passage, I want you to jot down what the text made you think about and what the text is about if you haven't done so already. After looking over the class's sticky notes, the most things that we had written about were that, are there any more gorillas like Coco? Or watching Coco use sign language to communicate would be very cool. Now that we have what the text has made us think about, it's now time to determine what the text is actually about. We have determined that the text is about Coco, who is a gorilla who can communicate in sign language. She was taught by her trainer, Dr. Penny Patterson. We also found that not everyone agrees with Dr. Patterson in her work with Coco. Some suggest that Coco doesn't actually know that meaning behind the signs. Others say Dr. Patterson is trying to humanize the ape instead of letting her live as an animal. Now that we have done summarizing versus what our inner voice is telling us together, I would like you guys to read the following passage and listen to your inner voice. As you are reading, write down or draw your thoughts on the sticky notes. Once you finish, stick your notes on the chart paper. Thank you everybody for listening, and here's my references down below.